Franklin County Board of County Commissioners now in session for this regular meeting Tuesday, January 16th, 2024. It's good to see everyone this morning. We're going to go ahead and get started. If you would, let's please stand and open up in prayer and pledge of allegiance. Commissioner Ward, would you lead us, please?
Yes. Lord, we come to you this morning as we conduct our county business. We appreciate everyone in the room. We appreciate everyone in our community. We pray for everybody's safety today in this nasty weather and the cold weather that we have coming up. We thank you for everything you do in your holy name. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, before we approve the agenda this morning, from talking to Mr. Currington, our planner, we might have a discussion before we leave this morning about postponing the workshop today, and that's coming from the developer. So I want to make sure we add that to agenda to have that discussion either on at the end of Mr. Marone's report or on Attorney Schuler's report.
By motion.
Yeah, well, I want to add it to the agenda that we have printed, if that's okay, yes. Yes, by motion. We can approve the agenda with that amendment.
I make a motion on that.
I'll second.
All right, we have a motion to approve the agenda with the addition by Commissioner Sanders. It has been seconded by Commissioner Amison. Any discussion, Commissioners? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That's unanimous. Up next is county bill list payments and approval of minutes from our last meeting.
So move.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion to approve by Commissioner Ward, second by Commissioner Sanders. Any discussion, Commissioners? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That is unanimous. Sir, we are now moving to, Mr. Marone, I do have just one speaker card for public comment. Mr. Edwin Lott, are you in the room? Please come forward, state your name. You have 5 minutes to address the board, sir.
It won't be 5 minutes, thanks. As many of you probably received yesterday afternoon, an email from me. I had in that email 3 documents, and this is related to the boat ramp discussion, which is item 7 on the agenda. And in that email were 3 documents, 3 PDFs. One was the FWC Florida Boating Improvement Program grant application training document. And that document describes, and they do present that through an online meeting that I attended last week, how to go and apply for the grant, how to get points awarded in the grant to maximize your points. And Nikki Stryker that runs that program also offered that if we get our grant application in early, that she'll review that and get back to us on how to make adjustments to maximize our point opportunity. And so there is a deadline on that grant process. It opens on the 19th and closes on March 20th. And it's important that an effort start now to start constructing the grant application to get it to her prior to closing, at least 1 or 2 weeks prior to closing, because if you give it to her in the last week, she said she simply won't have time to look at it. But in addition to that, I also included what I call the S-curve boat ramp presentation, which I sent in November to Mr. Moran and Ms. Commissioner Sanders. And in that presentation, I kind of detailed the situation we have in Alligator Harbor and also offered on behalf of Alligator Point St. Teresa Taxpayers Association a $10,000 contribution towards the repair and replacement of the S-curve ramp, which will cover a substantial amount of the cost, but not all of it clearly. And but that will require a permit, and that permit costs about $100. There may be some additional work like a design that has to accompany that. And then I also included a document which I created over the holiday this past weekend, and that's the Alligator Harbor boat ramp photo presentation. And I don't know if y'all have had a chance to take a look at it. And I apologize for getting it to you late, but I had to do it over the weekend because I knew we had this meeting. That presentation speaks a million words. There's no way that someone can stand up here and try to describe and say we have a problem with our boat ramps. But with that presentation, you can see the problem. It is major, it's significant, and those washout holes are just something that you can't imagine. And the berms that are being created on the back side of that is actually blocking boats from going out. So anyway, I wanted to include that presentation. I encourage you to take a look at it. It will give you a lot of good information. Real quick, the action items that we're really looking to work with you on is, and I'm going to put them in priority order, and I'll tell you why they're in this order. The FWC grant for the boating access program. That grant, because of that deadline, really needs to be started right away in order to get whatever documents we may need to include in that grant pulled together, and then get that grant submitted early enough to have it reviewed, and then a final submission to get it there before the deadline. And we stand a really good chance for approval because of some of the criteria, which says that the smaller communities like Franklin County, being on the coast, are going to get extra points just for where and who we are. In addition, if there's an in-kind contribution, even as much as $1,000, you'll get all 5 points on that category. So there are strategies to maximize our points. If it's not a really big dollar amount, we're going to go a little higher on the list because they only have a little over $1 million to spread across all the counties. I will tell you that other counties have staff assigned to have these grant applications ready to go. They'll be submitting them on the 19th. They're ahead of the game, and we need to get in that game and get that state funding. Second in priority is a DEP permit for the S-curve. The time consideration regarding the S-curve is that the depth of the water, our winter tides are perfect to do construction work, especially on a ramp where you need some exposure time to let that concrete cure. So that does have a bit of a time constraint if we want to try to get it done this season, which would be great because it is unusable right now. And then finally, we're wanting to work with you to lobby our legislators, Corey Simon, Jason Schoaf, but also the Florida Department of Agriculture and Division of Aquaculture. You'll see that
Mr. Lott, please.
Time's up?
No, just wrap it up.
Okay.
I mean, I'm not going to
Yeah.
cut you off, but.
Okay. So,
Land the plane.
but we want to lobby agriculture and go after them and say, look, we need funding this session if at all possible. Get us a little budget item that gets us funding to repair Leonard's Landing. And I've got a lot more to talk about that, but I'll save it. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. So that was it for public comment. That's all we received, correct?
Yes, sir.
All right. So, Mr. Steve Patterson, building official, you're up next, sir. And as he's coming, I will say, Mr. Lott, to you and everyone else, that is on our agenda to discuss later. So just to make sure you're aware of that. Mr. Patterson.
Good morning. How y'all doing today?
Doing well. How you doing?
Pretty good. Just wanted to give an update on the new building in East Point.
Okay.
We've got carpet ordered. It's already been delivered. It's not installed yet, but it's been delivered for we had some stains on the carpet that was there to be replaced. We're having the electrician come in and go through the electrical system, make sure everything's safe, repair what needs to be repaired. He said it'll be minimal. We're going to get the lights switched over to LED lights because I think there's halogen and fluorescent in there now, so he's going to switch it over to LEDs. I'm going to build a conference room conference room on one side there, doing a little bit of demo on one of the on the teller room that had all the cabinets in there. Those cabinets are going to be taken out, and we're going to have a half wall built for where the building zone is going to be. So
Okay. Like the desk area? Or-
yeah, it'll be a similar. It'll just be to dictate that that's the area.
Right.
It'll match the rest of the
Yeah.
offices. So
Okay. Kind of like it is at the tax collector's office?
right,
Okay.
very similar.
Okay.
All right.
Any questions,
questions?
commissioners?
Mr. Chairman, we're gonna move our meetings over there as well. Our board meetings, will they be taking place there, or are they gonna stay here,
They're
or?
gonna stay here. At some point in the future, we might build a outside, add to the building and build another commission meeting room that you can alternate if you'd like, especially for workshops or public hearings that you have that apply to that side, somewhere closer to there. Less travel time
for anyone that wants to participate. That's a couple of years down the road, though. But the conference room is basically to replace the conference room that's in here, is what it is that he's referring to. And Commissioner, what he's doing is, you know, Steve is running this project. What he is doing is taking advantage of that lobby space and splitting it in half. So basically, we can turn it into office space. I mean, it's not a lot of work. And if the board doesn't mind, page 7, item number 3, related to this, you've just heard Mr. Patterson's update on the East Point building as we prepare to move your administration, building department, and zoning offices from the current location to that building. Even though there have been many discussions on the upgrades needed before we could occupy the building, there was never any board action approving these upgrades. The few upgrade projects are well under the county's $10,000 bid limit. However, I thought there should be some action on the record authorizing staff to proceed with these upgrades. These projects will be paid from the building department budget and American Rescue funds. Board action to approve the necessary projects to upgrade the East Point building for administration, building department, and zoning offices.
So move.
All right, we have a motion to approve by Commissioner Ward, second by Commissioner Anderson. Any discussion? Mr. Brown, under discussion, just to be clear, so the public knows, we're not using ad valorem tax dollars on these upgrades. We're
No.
using stuff from the building department funds that have been received
That's right.
and from some for the American Rescue Plan.
And American Rescue was having to find a place for those
Yeah.
same funds that were for Heather, basically with
Yep.
supervisor election, because she needs a bigger building.
Yes.
And so since she's moving in here, we can kind of reallocate those funds,
Yep.
you know, kind of an indirect way, but solving that same problem.
Right. Okay. Any other discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? That passes 5-0. Thank you, Steve.
Thank you.
All right, let me get back to our agenda. Ms. Jennifer Daniels, she appearing by Zoom?
Oh, let me see, I sent her. Yep, there she is.
There she is.
Hello there.
Good morning, Jennifer.
Good morning. How are y'all doing?
Doing well, how are you doing?
I'm good. I do not have any action items. I just had one information item. I wanted to just give an update for you for Weather STEM, Chairman.
Yes.
I don't know if everyone is aware what Weather STEM is. Weather STEM is a company that we have partnered with for several years now. We have numerous stations, Weather STEM stations throughout the county, and they have either been donated to us or they have been purchased via a state grant that we have been able to receive. Weather STEM allows everyone in the county to access real-time live weather data. Right now, there's Weather STEM stations throughout the United States that people can access this data on. At this time, Franklin County has 6 Weather STEM stations total. The EOC has purchased or partnered and received the donation for 4. One is here in Apalachicola at the EOC. One is in East Point on the old St. George Island Bridge, which is now the fishing pier, and it's on the East Point side of the fishing pier. One is in Carabel/Lanark. It's at Island View Park. The other is at the Ochlockonee River Boat Ramp, which is on Highway 98. It's on the westward side of the Ochlockonee River Bridge. There's also 2 others in the county. One is at the Franklin County Consolidated High School, and the other is at the FSU Coastal Marine Lab. We have recently received a grant to get 3 more Weather STEM units. We are in the process of partnering with Alligator Point Volunteer Fire Department to put one on the fire department. We are also going to put one on Dog Island, and we were looking at the side of the airport, but the main goal is to get that Gulf side view with the cameras on the Weather STEM stations. And so, and we also have one going on St. George Island, somewhere right there at the Lighthouse Park area. We are in the process of trying to get 2 power poles to install the Weather STEM stations on for the St. George Island and the Dog Island area. And once we have these installed, the entire county will be able to view actual live video, live photos, live data coming from every one of these stations at any time. There's an app you can download to do this. You can go online and just go to their website and look at it. It's really an amazing product and an amazing company to work with.
Okay. Commissioners, any questions for Ms. Daniels? Jennifer, thank you for doing this today. I wanted to make sure, I know Miss Amanda had mentioned it at the last meeting when she was here for you, but I wanted to
Yes.
make sure that the board understood and knew that we're talking about 9 total now, potentially, and where they would be placed, and also the public to be aware. So that's why,
Yes, sir.
that's why I asked you to do this today.
Oh, my pleasure. Thank you.
Yep. All right, well, thank you, Ms. Jennifer. Mr. John Solomon, TDC Administrator.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Morning.
Most of my reports are information, but the one most important thing is on January 10th at the TDC board meeting, the TDC board voted to recommend the spending plan that was submitted by Ms. Erin Griffith to send back to the county for moving forward.
Okay. And Mr. Schuler, we're gonna discuss that today, correct? At some point? Or Ms. Erin, I'm sorry.
Actually, I have that on my report.
Okay.
I'd like to go ahead and do the action.
That's
item
fine.
if we can.
Yep, go ahead.
That's going to be action item number 3 on my report. The Tourist Development Council has reviewed and approved the attached draft TDC spending plan at their January 10th meeting. There are no further changes needed to the draft plan. We will need board action to post and advertise the draft to meet the 10-day advertising requirement for the public hearing where the plan could be adopted by ordinance. Board action to approve advancing and advertising the attached draft plan and ordinance for your February 6th meeting.
So moved.
All right, we have a motion to approve by Commissioner Anderson,
Second.
second by Commissioner Ward. Any discussion, Commissioners? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? That's unanimous. We'll be discussing on February 6th.
Yep.
Anyone have anything for Mr. Solomon in addition to this?
Maybe
Right.
want to talk to Mr. Chairman about the Rural Day up there at the Capitol.
Oh, yes. Yep. The Rural Day coming up at the Capitals, I think, Michael, what they were asking was us to have like a tent set up, that kind of deal. So, Mr. Solomon, you've agreed to do that
Yes, sir.
for us, correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
Actually, Commissioner, let me go to that page on my report to read it quickly. Rural County Day. The county is registered for Rural Counties Day. The Capitol Courtyard event is what it's called. It's on Thursday, January 25th in Tallahassee. Mr. Solomon, your TDC administrator, has agreed to manage the county's display setup at this event, which involves, like you say, the tent, handouts, shrimp, maybe. There is a legislative network reception at the DoubleTree by Hilton from 6 to 8 on that Wednesday evening. If any of you plan to attend that reception, let me know. Because it's a separate registration process you gotta go through, separate from what Mr. Solomon is doing for us on the following day, on the Thursday. But yeah, we seem to be good to go. There's been emails. I've copied John in those emails. We're waiting for instructions as to what we can and can't do.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, they offered a tent, and John is like, I don't need their tent, got my own. So,
We got a tent, man.
We
I
got a
ain't
tent, we got a backdrop, I'm ready.
yeah, John's ready.
John's ready.
He is.
And I tell you, having a presence there during this time, that's a good thing because everybody wants to know about Franklin County.
Yeah, well,
Yes, that's right.
And it's a good thing, and I know we did it for years and years and years, we did it.
Yeah.
But then,
so.
stop
yeah.
doing it.
Yes, ma'am. Both Commissioner Anderson and Commissioner Jones, the chairman, could both tell you that opportunity. Florida, Richard, has both stressed how important this really is.
Yes.
Yeah.
Especially when we want to get things approved up there, Commissioner.
Well, I'm gonna try to go, but I'm not going tomorrow.
So-
It's gonna be too cold up there.
So-
I'm not going tomorrow.
I guess
I'll say that out on public record.
Commissioner Emerson, a little bit of shrimp might go a long way. How about that?
That's fine. We just need to let me know when.
Yes, we will.
Yeah, just, I have all the equipment ready, Michael, just let me know,
Yep.
and we can handle it.
We will. Thank you. By the way, John, thank you for doing that.
Yeah.
Oh,
Thank you so much.
it'd be good to go and show off. That's what TDC does, right?
Well, not only that, we're gaining some momentum here,
Mhm.
and especially with the legislature. Now, that doesn't mean they're gonna do everything we ask them to do, but,
That's right.
but it's also gonna be, conversations are becoming easier the more we communicate, and that's the way relationships work, so.
Well, Mr.
I'm,
Chairman,
I'm just glad to be able to do it. Yes, ma'am.
if I can add to that, I think that, you know, this board's very active. Like, for example, we're gonna go to Tallahassee tomorrow, we've got Rural Days next week in Tallahassee, so I feel like that our presence as commissioners up there, every time we can go up there, every time we go to these conferences with FAC, you know, we're putting ourselves on the map, and, people are getting aware they know Franklin County now, and I think that's a good thing.
Yes.
Yes, and Commissioner Ward, tomorrow, so we're kind of splitting, dividing to conquer a couple of things. Tomorrow, Florida Great Northwest, another helpful people with economic development, they have a special presentation here. So the chairman, we voluntold Commissioner Amison, because he's been involved through the airport. Myself, we're going to attend that as you guys attend Legislative Day up in a cold Tallahassee day. So, yeah. So
Well, I'll
you're
be-
right, we're doing it.
Commissioners, Michael,
Ma'am.
I'll be in the backwoods of Franklin County, taking care of what I gotta take care
Even
of.
colder
It's just
spot
gonna
to
even be
be.
colder there now.
Yeah, it is gonna be cold.
Hey, let me tell you something, it gets cold in them backwoods too.
That's exactly my argument. What's the difference between that cold and Tallahassee cold?
Because I can go in the house and get warm if I
Thank you, Mrs. Solomon, we appreciate it.
Y'all have a good day.
teasing.
All right.
We're teasing around.
Ms. Griffith, we're to you.
It's the earliest that,
Okay, Commissioners, action item number 1, Franklin County has received $3,140,281 in federal funds from the Florida Department of Transportation's American Rescue Plan SCRAP program to fund the construction and CEI for the final 2.6-mile section of CR 67 from Forest Road 172 to the Liberty County line. The project scope will include widening and resurfacing. We're hoping for the 2-foot wide shoulders, reconstruction of certain side drains, signage, and pavement markings. Board action to approve and adopt the attached resolution of authorization for the chairman to sign the attached award agreement.
So moved.
second.
We have a motion to approve by Commissioner Sanders, with it being seconded by Commissioner Ward, to approve this signature of the resolution. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? That's unanimous.
Next, item number 2, East Point Library lease modification. Last summer, the Friends of the Library group contacted the county with an offer to transfer the ownership of the East Point Library location for the balance of the USDA loans, instead of them asking for a rent increase on the $2,000 per month the county has paid since 2015. The Friends group had been struggling with the rising cost of private property insurance, as their premiums have increased to $19,522 per year for the location. On August 1st, 2023, the board voted unanimously for the county to begin working with the USDA to formally assume the outstanding loan, with an approximate balance around $200,000. To provide temporary relief for the Friends group during this transitional assumption process with the USDA, would the board consider adding property coverage for the building to the county's governmental policy? The county's governmental insurer, the Florida League of Cities, can provide property coverage for $7,463 a year. Board action to approve the attached addendum number 1 to the East Point Library lease agreement to assume responsibility for insurance coverage beginning February 1st. And we do anticipate that USDA will finally have this process wrapped up within the next few months.
Okay.
And we're going to end up insuring the building anyway, so
Right.
at that point.
Pleasure of the board.
So moved.
Second.
All right, we have a motion to approve by Commissioner Amison, second by Commissioner Sanders. Any discussion, Commissioners?
She answered the one question I was about to ask.
Yes,
When they gonna wrap this up?
yes. All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That's unanimous. Ms. Griffith?
Okay, next action item, number 3 was covered previously with John Solomon was up front. Board action, the updated travel and per diem policy. When county employees or elected officials are required to travel for training or special events, travel expenses are reimbursed pursuant to a written policy that has been in effect since 2012. The mileage per diem is updated annually to the rate established by the Internal Revenue Service. The current per diem rate for meals, $8 for breakfast, $12 for lunch, and $26 for dinner, is paid only when travel extends beyond 1 day. The attached proposed revision has been reviewed by the county auditors and will change the standard rates reimbursed for meals to $13 for breakfast, $15 for lunch, and $26 for dinner. These rates are sourced from the U.S. General Services Administration. Board action to adopt and authorize the chairman to sign the revised travel and per diem policy resolution with an effective start date of February 1st.
So move with comment, question?
I'll second.
All right, we have a motion to approve by Commissioner Ward, second by Commissioner Amison. Commissioner Ward, please proceed.
First, I'll start out with a comment. I've talked to Michael about this many times, and I was wondering why, with the prices going up and inflation, we definitely need to make sure that our county employees are taken care of when they go out of town. And it's not just us commissioners, it's you, Aaron, it's you, Michael, it's Mr. Polis, Ms. Messer, when they go to these mosquito road department things.
Yep.
But my question is, I see that they gave us a good amount for breakfast and for lunch, but dinner, that's the most expensive meal of the day, and they didn't increase that, so
Yeah.
that doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah, that for some reason had stayed the same on the GSA websites.
And this is nothing that these aren't numbers that we're pulling out, these are numbers that are regulated by who?
Actually, the GSA is actually.
GSA, so.
Yeah, that's federal government.
Okay, so, that's kind of, we can't make it our own, we have to go by their guidelines, which is unfortunate, but I hate to see that the dinner's the same amount, but anyway, I digress.
Any more discussion?
You're supposed to go to bed on a smaller stomach, what they're trying to push. That's healthy. I
Gotta
don't
get that
practice.
steak dinner.
Obviously, I don't practice what I preach, but
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That's unanimous. Ms. Aaron? Ms. Griffin?
Sorry.
What are you gonna do?
I was adding that in real quick. Okay, next item is item number 5. It's a manual check needed for Neves Media. Franklin County has received invoices from Neves Media for the past 4 months of newspaper advertisements for the landfill, parks and recreation, animal control, and some varied display advertisements, including the full half-page advertisements for the county budget in September. At this time, the county is still awaiting the official proof of publication affidavits for those ads before the invoices can be paid. The newspaper is working to provide those affidavits this week. Board action to approve the issuance of a manual check for the outstanding invoices above once the affidavits are received. And that's actually been the reason why there's kind of been this lapse in, our ability to pay and then them knowing to provide the actual signed affidavits to us is because the ownership is transferred of the newspaper.
Okay.
So they're kind of doing some reorganization.
Okay, pleasure of the board.
So move with a question.
Okay,
So the 1760 number that you have here, Aaron, I'm assuming that's for the full half-page ad, it's a little bit more expensive?
I believe so.
Okay.
Yeah.
And this money is coming out of what part of the budget?
It comes from the general fund.
General fund?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep, the board's advertising funds.
And just so the public is aware, we have to advertise. These are for our public hearings, or by law, Florida statute, we have to pay for these ads. So I just wanted to clarify that for the record.
okay, so we do have a motion to approve by Commissioner Ward. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
All right, we have a second by Commissioner Amison. Any additional discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? That's unanimous. All right.
Okay, Commissioners, Michael had just handed out this list, and I believe he had intended to mention it earlier, so, yeah, yes. So this is actually a supplemental check run that was done by the Finance Department, and it includes the MSBU distributions to some of the fire departments, and also just a few vendors that were late getting in.
Okay.
So we do need board action to approve this check run as
Okay.
well.
Pleasure of the board.
So moved.
We have a motion to approve by Commissioner Amison,
Second.
second by Commissioner Croom and Commissioner Ward. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? That's unanimous. We're paying bills.
Okay.
Anything else, Ms. Griffin?
Just some miscellaneous project updates. As Jennifer said, we're still waiting on, to be obligated by FEMA for the SGI Fishing Pier Access Road repairs. Once they're obligated, we can start working on permitting and the construction bid specs on that one. We are also still waiting for the notice of award for the construction grant for the countywide dune restoration project. As with anything with the federal government, it takes forever. USDA, US Treasury is no different, as is the Army Corps of Engineers are the same,
Right.
same as well.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And then we're also, one thing to note, sod is actually being installed at Vrooman Park sometime in the next 2 weeks as part of that FRUDAP project for the fields. However, just to note, it is the time of year where the sod's going to be dormant. So if by chance the grass looks dead, it's because it hasn't come to life yet. So it will be green in the spring, it's just gonna go down looking brown.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I've got something for you.
Yep.
You said, we talked last week about Vrooman and the fence, with Bracewell. Is that, you said the 22nd of this month?
Actually, the fencing is going to, they're gonna show up February 1st.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good.
Because I've got baseball parents worried that
Yeah.
it's not gonna be completed in
Oh,
time
yeah.
for baseball, softball season. So I just wanna make sure we're on time, on a time schedule to be completed by all that gets started, so.
Yeah.
And you're gonna get with me on the dugouts?
Yes.
Okay, all right.
Yep. Yep.
Thank you.
All right. Anyone have anything for Ms. Griffith? Thank you. Ann. All right, Mr. Morrow?
Commissioners, page 7. I begin with a sad note. Sadly, Lieutenant Baron Cortopassi of the Franklin County Sheriff's Department, he passed away and his services were held on Thursday, January 4th. To allow all sheriff deputies and other law enforcement personnel the opportunity to attend these services, Sheriff Tommy Ford of Bay County voluntarily provided deputies to cover patrol, corrections, and courthouse security in Franklin County on the day of the service. Commissioner Ward asked for a letter of appreciation for Sheriff Ford. Ms. Courtney Bankson will read that letter of appreciation here in the next second or so. And there will be signature blocks for both Chairman Jones and Sheriff Smith. Sheriff Smith will present this letter of appreciation to Sheriff Ford at the Sheriff's Day in Tallahassee later this month. After Courtney reads this, the letter of appreciation, we'll need a motion to approve the chairman's signature on the letter. Courtney? Or Mrs. Banks?
The Franklin County Board of County Commissioners and the Franklin County Sheriff's Office would like to recognize and thank Sheriff Tommy Ford and the Bay County Sheriff's Office for their respect and generosity. On January 4th, 2024, Sheriff Tommy Ford sent deputies and corrections deputies to answer calls for service, as well as staff our detention facility, our courthouse, and our schools, which allowed all Franklin County Sheriff's Office employees to attend the service of Lieutenant Cortopassi. Without their support, this would not have been possible. Please let this serve as a Franklin County Board of County Commissioners and the Franklin County Sheriff's Office letter of appreciation for Sheriff Tommy Ford and the Bay County Sheriff's Office for being exceptional partners and always providing selfless assistance in our time of need.
Sounds good, Courtney. Thank you. Sounds real good. Pleasure of the board.
Mr. Chairman, I will make a motion to approve with comment.
Okay. So we got an approval by Commissioner Ward,
Second.
second by Commissioner Amison. Please proceed, Commissioner.
I just, that didn't have to happen.
No.
Sheriff Tommy Ford didn't have to send anybody over, and from my understanding, the Sheriff Smith didn't even have to call and ask. Sheriff Ford just called and offered the services, so, Lieutenant Cortopassi's been in, law enforcement for over 30 years. He served our county for many years, came out of retirement, and so I felt like that this was, definitely the right thing to do,
Yes.
so.
Any more discussion?
I have something,
Yes, sir.
Mr. Chair. I'm very appreciative of Sheriff Tommy Ford, having worked with him closely. And this is why it is very important to have relationships with our neighboring counties for times like this.
Yeah.
So,
And Mr. Chairman, I'm sure Sheriff Smith would return the favor in a heartbeat if Sheriff Tommy Ford needed anything, so.
Certainly.
That's right, working together.
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes,
I just want to talk about Lieutenant Cortopassi.
yes.
He was a very good man. When I needed help on a situation, he was there. And he was just, the last time I saw him was at Mr. Noah Lockley. Commissioner Noah Lockley's funeral, folding the flag. And I got to speak to him outside, didn't know he was sick at that time. I think that's what got us, sick. But then, from then on, we went to the hospital and, did he ever come home? Commissioner? And he was just a good man. I just want to say that.
Well, it's always helpful when you have neighbors, as Commissioner Crew has said, that help you make the best of a bad situation.
That's right.
So I think we're all very thankful for, because sometimes you look at things, you're like, well, what do we do? Because by yourself, you don't know what to do.
Yeah.
So that's why it's good to have a friend, a neighbor.
It is.
Any more discussion before we vote? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? That is unanimous. All right, Mr. Brown.
Item number 2, Commissioners, the county has received a request, as we do the last few years, from the school district to waive the Armory rental fee for the senior-junior prom. The prom is scheduled for Saturday, April 20th. The board has waived this fee in years past.
So moved.
All right. We have a motion to approve by Commissioner Ward, second by Commissioner Sanders. Discussion. Mr. Brown, I know it's not pertinent to this discussion, but weren't you and Mr. Fonda Davis supposed to bring back a policy to this board
Yes, sir.
about Armory and Armory rentals and how we can address this?
And I promise you it's on the to-do list. I promise you.
Okay.
Scout's honor.
I thought I remembered.
Yes,
correctly.
yes, you're correct.
Okay.
Yes.
Sounds good. I mean, I would just like to see us, to be out in my personal feelings, I'm 1 of 5 currently. I don't think the school should have to ask for this every year.
Well, they have to ask because they have to fill out an application, but I
Right.
shouldn't have to bring it to the board every
Yeah,
year,
yeah.
pretty much.
That's
Yes,
what
sir.
I'm saying. We
Yeah.
need to come up with a policy, and not just about the school, about other things
Yeah,
to do with the Armory and the Armory rentals. So,
I agree.
all right, any more discussion before we vote? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? That's unanimous.
All right, Commission, item 4, we addressed 3 already. 4 actually begins at the top of page 8. Recently, the board advertised for code enforcement services, but unfortunately, no firms or individuals submitted proposals. As an option, the board asked staff to meet with Sheriff Smith to discuss the possibility of his deputies serving as code enforcement officers. Chairman Jones, Mr. Courtney Bankson, and I met with Sheriff Smith and Deborah Dempsey to discuss this matter and agreed to the following procedure. Mrs. Bankson will continue to receive all complaints and manage the complaint database. Once a complaint is verified by Mrs. Bankson, she will send a notice stating the violation and requirement for compliance within 30 days. If there is no compliance by the 30th day, the notice will be forwarded to the Sheriff's Department for enforcement. Mrs. Bankson will receive status updates from the Sheriff's Department until the case violation is closed. Sheriff Smith agreed to this plan with the intention of the board funding a permanent part-time or full-time position for the 24-25 budget year, depending on the number of violations received prior to those budget discussions. The Sheriff's Department will be paid $250 per complaint and will be reimbursed for code enforcement certification training. The other option would be a county permanent part-time or full-time certified code enforcement employee. The total annual cost, which includes all benefits and what I would consider a fair base pay for a certified code enforcement part-time employee, is approximately $52,900.64. Now, I'm not saying that will be their total salary. What I'm saying, the salary, I think we average about, I think I said 25 per hour, when I asked you to look at, 25 per hour, permanent part-time. The entire cost of the county would be $52,900. If it's a full-time employee, it'll be $73,032.20. How would the board like to proceed?
Mr. Chairman, I'll start out the conversation. For one, I do not want this board personally, I'm 1 of 5, I don't want this board involved in any code enforcement. I know Courtney's involved, but in terms of the actual enforcement part, I don't want our hands in that. 2, last Tuesday night, I got at 8 o'clock at night, a phone call and I got 4 complaints, different, some were the same, some different. We gotta come up with a better way. What we're doing right now is not working. I talked to Attorney Schuler about it last week. They get a letter in the mail, they throw it away, they write return to sender. Courtney has to deal with that. It's not a conducive process. It's a horrible process. They get a letter from us and they laugh. Because guess what? There is no accountability. There is no enforcement. There is no, if you don't do this, you're gonna have to pay an exorbitant amount of money or a lien's gonna be put on your property. Now, granted, I don't wanna make anybody homeless, let's keep that in mind, but we can't have, and when it becomes an environmental and a safety hazard or rats, you know, I had somebody had to replace their HVAC system because rats and roaches got into from their neighbor's house into their house and tore up all their ductwork. That's not right. It's nasty, it's disgusting, and we've got to do something. And, you know, I looked at a code enforcement complaint in a year. Now, I know, granted, everybody has their own rights, and they have their due diligence, and it is their right to be able to try to remedy a situation. But I think, I don't want multiple people's hands in this. You get too many hands in the pot, balls get dropped. I don't want balls getting dropped. I want stuff done. I want it done in a timely manner. I want one, if at most two people involved. I know, you know, the more people you get involved in something, there's no communication. They lack, you know, it doesn't get relayed appropriately. And I'm not discrediting anybody, but that's like me telling you the sky's blue out there right now. And by the time it gets to Mr. Paul, it's red. You know, it's not conducive. So that being said, I think that we should do it. I like the sheriff's office option. Courtney sending a letter, and one letter, and then our penalties become stiffer. I know we have to go by Florida statute in terms of what the penalty can be, like a misdemeanor, $250, I believe.
First offense under the code enforcement ordinance is $250 per day of violation. For a second offense, I believe it's a maximum of $500.
So stiff penalties, but letter once. The second time, I know Courtney and I have we're working on one right now. I advised her, I said, I want the letter sent from you first. If they don't comply within 30 days, then the sheriff's office needs to go out there, because it's ridiculous. And I hate to say this, but people in the community are laughing in our faces because they know that letter is just they spill their coffee on it and they throw it away. They don't care. They don't care. So we've got to get more firm. We've got to get more consistent. And I know that some code enforcement complaints isn't always necessarily the county. I know DEP gets involved. I know the health department gets involved. But like Ms. Bankston was telling me the other day, is we give them 30 days, and I thought, well, let's give them less days. Let's give them 15 days. But I do think that the 30 days is appropriate, because she was telling me, and I didn't realize this, that when we send a letter from here, it goes to Tallahassee and it comes back here. So they get the letter, and it's 15 days after the fact. So, I mean, so we have to give them the right to say, well, I didn't get the letter till this date, so. But anyway, those are my thoughts. I've got a lot more, but I will save them because I'll let other people talk. But I've been passionate about code enforcement since I was elected to this board. And I feel like we definitely, as our county grows by leaps and bounds, we've got to do something. We got to do something now. Otherwise, we're going to find ourselves in a bind. I'm just saying.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
My take on it is what I would do. I think we need the permanent, permanent part-time or the full-time permanent part-time, whatever y'all want to do on that. But until then, get the sheriff to enforce it and pay him the $250. But we do need it underneath the county umbrella. I don't have no problem with the sheriff doing what he has to do to enforce the law. I don't have no problem with that at all. But I think it's the person that needs to be underneath this umbrella, the board's umbrella. I believe that.
I have a question, Mr. Chairman. Okay, am I understanding this correctly? As far as paying the sheriff, so we'd pay the sheriff's department $250 per complaint. Now, if we decide to stay with the sheriff, so to speak, once he has room in his budget for that extra employee, that $250 ceases then.
That's correct. That's correct. So when budget discussions come up, yes, Commissioner and Commissioner Sanders, at that point, this board has to make a decision to fund that employee under the sheriff's department or under the Board of County Commissioners.
Yes.
That's when you make that decision.
Okay, now, I guess my other thing, just so we can have open discussion with Commissioner Sanders, I agree with you as well, but then I get to thinking about it from an enforcement standpoint. Who's gonna carry more weight, so to speak? You know, when you get a sheriff's deputy versus,
You do realize what the code enforcement
I
officer does.
do.
And they do carry a badge and a gun
Mhm.
too. So,
But what I'm getting at
That's
is,
what
somebody's a lot more likely to go hide in the back somewhere if it's a code enforcement than they were with the sheriff, because they, you know, that's all I'm saying. I mean, I'm not,
yeah,
I'm
yeah.
just saying it
You're
just
right,
kinda
Otis.
carries a little
You're
more,
right.
you know, a little more weight. It really, I was just more so wondering exactly how it's gonna line up funding this, but I'm fine either way, as long as I agree with Commissioner Ward. You know, we need to have something that we can actually have a little teeth with, because this is getting ridiculous. I mean, but anyway,
Mr. Chair,
everybody else?
Yes.
I concur with Commissioner Ward and Commissioner Emerson and Commissioner Sanders.
Commissioner,
Something needs to be done.
Yeah.
We're overdue for it.
Yes.
In reference to the sheriff office doing it, you know, sometimes when people see the uniform, does make a difference. As far as code enforcement, most code enforcement officers, they wear a uniform for the department, but usually it's a non-sworn position, which is, they don't carry a gun, so, most departments, so, but something needs to be done.
Well, this plan, so this has been very elusive. I'll just so and start there. But this plan would give us a way to try to start something now
that's
and
fine.
kind of see how it goes, so we can have that valid discussion and understanding coming up to budget time next year. But it wouldn't put it off, because I mean, we did put out an RFQ and nobody responded as a code enforcement officer. So, you know, it's left to us to make sure something gets started.
Yeah.
And just to clarify a couple of things, so you'll know the discussion, sometimes the narrative is there, but it doesn't. So what we're talking about, that 250 covers if they have a call to come to my house. If they have to come back 4 times, it's still just 250. You know what I'm saying? Until that whole complaint is put to bed.
So it's per case,
Per case, yes. It's not
Per
each time
visit,
they go
per case,
out.
yeah.
It's 250
Until it's
per,
resolved.
per residence or per place.
But,
But the one thing,
Chairman, I'm sorry, go ahead.
no, go ahead, Otis.
The good thing about this is this is a good little, you know, we can test the water, so to speak, and that's what we need to do. We need to go ahead and start moving on it.
Well, one thing about it too is when we advertised it last time, we didn't have a salary number in there.
That's right.
Now we've got a number that sounds pretty reasonable. So you don't know, I mean, you know, we had the people come into the office that talked to you, Courtney, and he was in law enforcement. And I appreciate every comment that we've had up here, especially Commissioner Croom, because he is law enforcement.
That's right.
You know what I mean? And he knows what he's talking about. So we're gonna get a solution to this, Commissioner Ward, because it's something that needs there. And I hope that we can get the messes in Franklin County cleaned up that needs to be cleaned up without a lot of strong arm,
Right.
strong tactics, not strong arm, but strong tactics, and can you just get the people to comply, you know?
Well, that's what, Mr. Chairman, with more teeth, they will hopefully comply.
Yeah.
But, and just so the public is aware, this 250 and the numbers that we're speaking of right now, we have in our budget now, currently, money for a code enforcement officer. We just don't have one. So this money, it's not like we're having to come up with money. We already have it. It's there. It's already funded. We just don't have anybody to give the money to. So now we do. In addition to that, and I know that we have some really great ordinances on the books, and I've said at many meetings, what good is an ordinance if we're not going to enforce it? But a 1991 ordinance for Franklin County is not good for 2024 ordinance for Franklin County, because we've changed. So as we progress through this process, we're going to have to come, this board is going to have to address ordinances. We can't tackle them all at once.
Yep.
But we're gonna have ordinances come before us that we're gonna have to modify or change or update to reflect the bigger teeth, so to speak, so that we can enforce it. And that's something we just need to look forward to doing, because I can tell you, as this process starts, we're gonna see a lot of ordinances come before us, we're gonna have to modify or change or
right.
update.
Mr. Chairman, can I ask one more question? As far as moving forward with this, what kind of time frame are we gaming here?
Okay.
I mean, obviously, we should be able to hit the ground running with the sheriff.
Yes.
And that'll allow us plenty of time to determine on whether or not we want to go with an employee here or just.
Yes. So a couple of things, Commissioners. Oh, I'm sorry.
You're good. I was gonna say that 30-day window of her sending a letter is gonna give the sheriff's department time to get officers trained for code enforcement, for the training side of it. So, I mean, I don't know if it's legal to add to it, Attorney Schuler, you might have to weigh in on it, but I would like to see some language added in this letter we're sending out, saying this is your violation, and please know that at the end of this 30 days, your next visit will be from the FCSO.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
it'll be turned over to the sheriff's
My
department.
question
That's
is
what we're
when
gonna
do we,
So-
can we vote on it now?
Yes.
I mean,
Oh,
you
yes.
know,
Oh, yes.
well,
I do.
Yes.
Well, I just said it was a discussion of it, so.
Well, he didn't want to try to,
Yeah, I
we do
understand.
that a
Well-
lot because staff's not reckoning for us what we need to do.
Yeah.
You know what
Well,
I'm saying? So-
at the end, you see, I
Well, when
said
I see
board.
discussion, I'm thinking we're just gonna talk about it, but I'm ready to roll, so.
The motion I asked for, I said board discussion and action on
Okay.
proceeding with code enforcement. So, a couple of things. One, when we approached the sheriff, my intention was to pay to have maybe 2 of his deputies certified. He's like, no, let's do it the other way. Bring the certification officer here, pay for that, and I'll have all my deputies in front of him being certified. Works for me. So that's what Courtney's researching right now. So, and so hopefully we can get that worked out pretty soon. I think he's about to hire, part-time, training officer,
That's
the
right.
sheriff is, so.
That's correct.
He's gonna do that. And another, point I wanna bring up, especially for the public. So, I wanna make sure, this 52,900 that I'm saying, that is not the salary we would pay a permanent part-time employee. The salary would be way less than that. That number includes your cost of having an
Insurance and-
employee,
yes.
you know, the
Mileage, the
benefits,
base number.
retirement and all that, whatever goes with the job. So I wanna make that very clear, so the public doesn't think we're gonna pay a permanent part-time, officer 52,000, 53,000, basically, okay?
Well, Mr. Chairman, I would like to add too, part-time right now, let's face it, Courtney's inundated. She has other jobs besides just code enforcement complaints. Her job is not part-time, she's full-time. And I'm sure she spends full-time hours on code enforcement complaints. I mean, Courtney, could you elaborate to that? And do you want to elaborate? How many hours a day of your 8-hour day, if you don't mind me asking, you putting you on the spot, do you spend on code enforcement type complaints?
It's a hard question, ain't it?
That is a hard question.
Probably depends on the day. but
Yeah, because
half-
some days
half the
I
day?
get nothing, and then
Yeah.
other days I'm bombarded with, 6 or 7 emails at a time.
Well, I know
That's
the
kinda
other
like
day,
being
her
a
and I
county
sat down
commissioner.
together, and
Yeah, it is.
I was here for probably a good hour and a half, talking to her about code enforcement
Yeah.
complaints. So,
Well,
you know, I want somebody, and I've said this before, proactive. I don't want just a complaint-based, you got a complaint, go out, look at it. I want somebody actively going out in our community and looking for complaints, because I just feel like that things get missed sometimes. I'm not discrediting our staff or anybody for that matter, but I just want somebody to go out actively looking at things, because there's things that get missed. I rode with Courtney out one day, and she was proactively looking for things. She didn't just go out and look at the complaints that she had. We were looking at other areas, and she would say, oh, well, look at that, that's not right, you know. So I want somebody proactively doing this, and I know I'm preaching to the choir and beating a dead horse here, but I'm tired of beating that dead horse. I've been on this board for going on 3 years now, 4 years, and we've been constantly talking about this. I want it done.
Well, the deal Commissioner Ward, that will be the decision you make at budget, when you have your budget discussions, because yes, I'll have to agree with you. Part-time employee code enforcement will be a response type person. If you want somebody out there patrolling like a patrol officer does for the sheriff department or the city police department, reporting to you, I check District 1 on Monday and Tuesday, I found this, if you want that, that's a full-time employee.
Well,
Yes.
Mr. Chairman, I'm sorry. Okay, now y'all getting me all messed up because, and it's, Commissioner Ward, at first you want law enforcement, but now it sounds like you were wanting to have somebody here full-time. I mean, is the sheriff department gonna have a deputy that roams around?
Well,
and-
no.
Because, you know, I mean, the way I'm understanding it is, the complaint's gonna come through here to the sheriff's department.
Yes.
You see what I'm saying?
This plan is response. What Commissioner Ward is asking for is a discussion at budget time,
Oh,
whether
okay,
you
is
go
to
from
bring
response
somebody in to
to
just, okay, I'm
include
sorry,
patrol,
that's why I'm
basically.
asking, because
Yes,
y'all know
sir.
me, I get a little space.
I mean, that's, Commissioner Ward, that's how I'm understanding
That's,
what.
that's
okay.
correct, yes,
Okay.
yes.
This plan is getting it started.
Yes.
And
Yes.
see, the thing about it
Clarify.
is a lot of people call, I mean, Courtney, you're experiencing that right now, when you started saying, you're gonna have to give me your name and who you are, and all, because sometimes it's just neighbors squabbling.
Yes.
Sometimes, and then see, she has to go through all that and say, well, this is really a valid complaint. So, I mean, to me, it's a full-time thing.
You might eventually get to a spot, Commissioner, and I understand what Commissioner Ward's saying, and I don't disagree with it. We might get to a place where we can be proactive and roam, but we got a lot more cleaning up to do before we're even close to ready for that.
I agree.
Because, again, like the Commissioner's already said, we're gonna have to address some of our ordinances, they're gonna need updating, so we can't just go from 0 to 1,000 here and think that it's all gonna be good.
Right.
It didn't get bad overnight, and it's not gonna get good overnight, but we gotta start.
You gotta start.
Mr. Chairman, I would say this, you know, right now, Commissioner Ward is right, a letter coming from Courtney is like, toss to the side. When they find out that the next visit is from the sheriff's department and somebody's knocking on their doors, looking at their property, letters from Courtney might have a little bit more weight after
There
that.
you go.
So, you know, you never
won't
know.
take many.
Let's see how it works out. This is a good starting point, you know, so.
Give me
Yep.
respect.
Yes.
But I do, after all this is said, I really do need a motion.
We didn't have any motions yet, did we?
I make a motion that we move forward with the sheriff's, I don't know, I guess preliminary,
Okay, All right.
and then we'll just have future discussion on
That's correct.
on our,
that's correct. So you want, your motion is to move forward with the plan as it's presented, partner with the sheriff's department.
yes.
All right, so we have a motion by Commissioner Amison that has been seconded by Commissioner Kern. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? That's unanimous.
Okay. Item 5. Chairman Jones would like the board to discuss relocating the shooting range. As the board is aware, the current location behind the Humane Society building has created some issues, especially with the animals housed in that building. Trying not to go too far down the road, Commissioner Ward.
Mhm.
Commissioner Ward has done extensive research on this matter, especially on a new location, so perhaps she would like to initiate this discussion.
Well, Mr. Chairman, can you pull up, Michael, some of the,
am working on that right now.
I looked back at minutes past to, I think it was 2018, 2019, when this kind of became an issue, I guess. Now, a lot of people say, which was there first, the Humane Society or the shooting range? Well, the shooting range was. So people say, well, why are you trying to accommodate that when they knew what they were getting into when they were there? And I agree with that. But, I mean, here we are discussing it, and it's not safe. It's not safe for not only the Humane Society volunteers, it's not safe for our landfill employees, it's not safe, the sheriff's office, I think, is on the other side. But this is the stuff that we're getting out at the shooting range, and I know that the bad ones ruin it for the good ones, but this is ridiculous. And I'm not saying that by moving it is gonna eliminate this situation or issue, but I got a call from an individual the other day. There was a red bird, a cardinal got shot. And was the red bird, the cardinal shot intentionally? I don't know, but all I know is we've got to do something. I don't know. So in speaking with multiple people and trying to come up with multiple ideas, and if Michael, if you could pull up the property appraiser's map on the properties, we had discussed relocating the range up to some county property located kind of behind the road department.
Yes.
Mr. Howard Neighbors and I rode out and looked at the area, and we can't put it there either because it's too in close proximity to their shop where they work on vehicles, and things. So we can't do that. Plus, it's not enough land, I don't think, because we got forestry land that abuts right up to that. There's some kind of well or something there that, anyway, it's not conducive to have it at that piece of property. So there's another piece that we were looking at, and just so everybody knows, we talked to FWC extensively about this, and that's really not an option right now because they want bukus of money. We don't meet the residential requirement. We have to have a certain amount of residents within a certain amount of miles of the range. We don't meet that criteria. And they wanted it manned, which is not a bad idea considering what we just saw in the pictures. But, you know, at the end of the day, all people want to do is they just want to go out and sight the rifles in for hunting season, maybe target practice with their new pistol that they got for Christmas, what have you. But so the option that I've discussed with Mr. Morone and I don't think Aaron and I have had the conversation about this particular piece, but there between the road department and the school board property, right there in the middle, is county-owned property. I think is it 5 acres?
55 acres.
55 acres?
Yes.
I think it's
Yeah,
right.
between that cleared field and the road department?
Right there, yep,
Yeah,
yep, right there.
that's it.
So, and that's 55 acres?
Yes, it is.
So, I was thinking that maybe we could relocate it to there, and you've got plenty of acreage where you could build a road. We can, Mr. Howard Neighbors and his crew built the one here in Appalach. They can build one there, build a big enough berm on each side to where you don't have to worry about a stray bullet, but you got plenty of property, in other words, to where you don't have to worry about that. And just put, you know, some targets up there, put a tape, kind of like the one out here in Appalach is. And, you know, I don't want to charge people because I think that's why people come to East Point now and use this range is because they have paid to come over here to Appalach. So I don't want that, but we've got to do something. And I know we've got cameras up now at the one in East Point at behind the Humane Society to try to deal with some of the riffraff that's going on there. But we've got to do something, and I just wanted you all's input on it and ideas or suggestions or whatever y'all can give me. But that's my solution.
Yeah, I think it's a great idea. I think we need to go ahead and talk to DOT about doing a road cut so we can put a road going in there. I would bring it closer to the bottom side of there than the top. That way it's not close to the road department at all. But interesting you should say that. I was talking to a couple of residents that actually use the Fred Babb Jr. Memorial Complex out here. And they give me some ideas on some improvements we could make. But again, we built that whole thing, those berms. So there's some improvements we could make to make it more feasible, to kind of just separate the parking from the gun range. It's not really separated out here. It's kind of, you pull up to it. Have a space to separate it. But I think it's a great idea. It's a primitive range, and I think one step further, I know he's not here today, but I think we need to discuss, once we get it moved, with Mr. Fonda Davis and make that part of our Parks and Rec where they keep it cleaned up.
Well, Mr. Chairman, one comment with that. The big problem with the East Point range, as far as the, you know, people putting stuff out there to shoot, is they have no targets. I mean, you gotta take a cardboard box. Now, I'm not saying that, you know, if you take it out there, take it with you. I understand that, and I'm not about shooting TVs and all, but if we don't provide some way for in the future, whatever we do, for them to put something up to shoot at, they're gonna bring something out there. 'Cause they don't sight the rifle in shooting a berm, you know. That's just something for future thought, but,
Yeah.
but I'm out here at the Babs range. I do, you know, and there is some areas for improvement.
Yes.
You know, but it is a nice range. You don't see, you know, obviously, because you got to pay to get out there, and it's like anything else. I'm quite sure some of these kids have got the code, and but they're not junking it up. But they do have nice things where you can go down, pin up your target, and I think alleviates a lot of the
Do they provide targets, Commissioner? How do they do that?
They don't provide the paper target itself, but you got a way you can go down there and tack up a target on silhouette, some wood and stuff.
Okay.
But yeah, I'm all for it. I mean, obviously, we've got an issue there And it's always gonna be that, you know, the Humane Society's arguing about hearing the shooting and all that. And I'm gonna side a little bit on the gun owners some, because it's not like they're out there constantly. I went over there a few times looking, and I have yet to see, saying it's hunting season, but I have yet to see somebody out there, you know, all day long shooting, you know. And the complaints that I'm hearing from the Humane Society side of it is it's just a constant barrage of gunfire, and the dogs are, you know, the animals. That's not really the case. I mean, I'm not taking a side in this, but I think the best solution is just for us to find another place to put it and then put it to bed, so.
Is it gonna be far enough away from the dog?
I think it will be, because it's completely on the other side of that 26 acres of
Yeah,
school owns.
but I just wanna make sure.
I'm sure it will be.
Yeah.
Well, at that
We
point,
need to do that.
Mr. Chairman, at that point, Commissioner Sanders, they could blame the sheriff's office, because that will be
That's what I
closer
say, they gotta
to,
arrange
that'll
it.
be closer to the Humane Society than
Yeah.
this will be.
Yeah.
And
That's
Chairman,
right.
can I get a copy of this?
Yeah, it's no
I'll
problem.
make copies for everybody.
Thank you.
It's no problem at all. But again, I took input from some of the people that are using the range, some people like Mr. Ted Ruffner that is actually a certified instructor. You know what I mean? So, those kind of things. So Mr. Morone, are we looking for a board vote on this today? Or what are we looking
I
for?
was more for discussion. Do you want to wait until Howard is here and we bring it up as an action item to make
That'd be
sure he's
Yes.
fine.
included
Add it
in
to our
the
next
discussion?
agenda in February for an action item.
Okay.
Please.
And thank you. Thank y'all for your input.
Yeah.
Sorry, writing a note.
I mean, Mr. Chairman, I personally don't like using this property for a gun range, because I know we may have had other plans, but again, we gotta do something, and we still got other county properties that we can do, county land we can do stuff with, so.
Well, it's probably gonna require us getting at least some kind of preliminary design, isn't it, Ms. Aaron, to know where to put it or how to place it, how the road's gonna get to it?
We may need to have a wetlands delineation too.
Okay.
Yeah,
I
so
knew there
that's
might be
probably
other
something that,
things,
yeah,
yes.
that we need to actually reach out to Roddenberry on.
Yeah. So that'll help decide that for us, you know, to be honest with you.
And after that, we'll get the FDOT to allow us to cut to make the road, so, entrance. Okay.
All right.
The 29th annual Camp Gordon Johnson Veterans Parade will be on Saturday, March 9th, starting at 10:45 in Carabel. If you are planning to participate, please inform Ms. Courtney Baxton, because we try to get Fonda and I believe, I don't know if Pam's working, well, we tried to get their ATVs, UTV, golf carts for you guys to get in the parade. Last year, I know it was a mess, commissioners. Yes.
Is there a way for us to rent a golf cart for a parade?
I have a golf cart we can use. I don't have a problem with that.
Either which way, I'm just saying.
Mr. Chairman, I think last year, if memory serves,
had a hard
was it
time
the
getting the
UTV
thing.
we had a flat tire, and thank God the chairman, working,
And
had
then-
an air compressor
Then
in
the
his
other one
vehicle.
wouldn't
and-
start.
Yeah, it was.
I see Commissioner Amison, that look he gives me.
Well, you got to remember,
But
he
yes,
is,
I think we all want to attend.
he is the
Okay.
CarQuest manager, you know.
So,
And I think,
For
wasn't
now-
the windshield like cracked, couldn't see the windshield drive, he was like trying to do this number?
yeah,
So
but
you
we'll all,
probably knows, we ain't spending no money on us to ride around with anything flashy.
yeah.
So, Mr. Chairman, I've got a golf cart we can use.
And I will
Um,
ask Mr. Davis to borrow the board one of his better vehicles, if that helps. Anyway.
All right.
I thought it was kind of funny.
Okay.
I do think we all plan to attend, as many as can attend.
Okay,
Yeah, we-
I'll
I'll
plan
be
for
there.
5, okay.
Yeah.
7, Alligator Point, boardroom. So Mr. Lott was here, so I won't read all of this. Mr. Lott did a very good presentation on the public hearing, but public comments, but I think it needs more than public comments, because there has to be, there's a lot of history here. That's what Mr. Lott, the discussions we've been having about this. I will say, one of the things we have to deal with is neighbors, because the boat improvement ramp, which, for the public's information, Mark has been doing boating improvement ramps forever and a day, so he knows the policy. The problem is neighbors,
Yep.
because Sun and Sand is a neighborhood, and we're talking about increased activity in that residential neighborhood without proper parking.
Yep.
That's been a problem in the past. the S-curve, the same thing. In the past, the neighbors on opposite sides of this, they had put up a chain link fence. I didn't know that, Commissioner Sanders. Mark is who informed me of that. And I'm saying this not to address what Mr. Lott was talking about, but it has to be a back and forth dialogue so we come to an agreement. I was really disappointed because in the past, we had talked about using the FSU Marina because they had adequate parking. They had a boat ramp that wouldn't require a lot of improvement. And a couple neighbors there, use the term with juice, basically called up to Tallahassee and said, no, squash that idea. We do not want that kind of traffic in our neighborhood. So what I'm uncomfortable with is the board saying, okay, we won't do it for these neighbors, but we're going to, terrible word to use, but we're going to punish these other neighbors by bringing this improvement, improving the boat ramps in their residential neighborhoods. I agree with Mr. Lott. We've got to figure something out. I mean, they need access, but, and Chairman, I'm going to turn to you because you've had numerous meetings back and forth. Mark has spent hours, and myself, on the phone with the state trying to get, and this was before Mr. Lott's request. This is for the people that own Department of Ag issues these leases, and they charge these people for the leases that they have for whatever, but they don't give them access. And Mr. Chairman, you could speak now. I would prefer, it's fair to everyone that Mr. Lott could bring some of the other people interested in, and we have a dialogue at a public meeting so we can come to an agreement as to which way to move forward. I understand what he's saying about the boating improvement. I'll talk to Mark and see how long he would need to get it in there. Again, he's done many of those applications.
Well, I think we all agree that there needs to be boating improvement. Historically, it's been a problem though, because most neighbors don't want it in their backyard. Point blank, period. And good, bad, or indifferent, when there has been time, any time we've gotten to a place, say if we were at the end of having things ready, as Mr. Lott had mentioned earlier, and turning in this grant, well, if history repeats itself, there's going to be people sitting in here from Alligator Point saying, we don't want this boat ramp in this spot. You got to find another spot for it. And you know what? If you say you're pursuing it, that's fine. We're going to talk to the legislators ourselves. And that's how they've done it in the past. And as far as meeting with FWC and trying to get help from them, so they had this grand plan about a year and a half ago. They were going to, because they got more land, they bought more land here in Franklin County. They're divvying it up among departments. They're going to make improvements to Ball Point State Park. Mr. Morone and I went to their meeting down at the point to discuss with them a boat ramp. And they was like, no, boat ramp's not going to happen. And I'm like, so you got another 1,000 acres, but there's nowhere to put a boat ramp. Nope, no boat ramp. None, period. Not even a discussion. And they can say they have a grant to do it, but we don't have the land to put it. I think the county owns, what do we own, 2 acres there across from Leonard Land? The state owns the whole thing. So the discussion I had with Senator Simon and with Representative Sho in past legislative sessions is move the road north, make it like they did Windmark Beach. Drive down to it, make a boat ramp. There's plenty of room there. Y'all own all the property. It's too difficult. Now, I do know that Senator Simon had said in the last couple of months leading up to this session that he's going to personally be going after something for a boat ramp in Alligator Point. I haven't had another discussion with him about it, but I will touch base with him, and please feel free to do so, Commissioner, because the more the merrier. Touch base with him and make sure he's still of that same inclination that he's going to make it something that he personally wants to take care of, because we need access at Alligator Point.
Yep.
But we only have 2 acres that's north of 98, so the county is not just limited in resources, we're limited in property that the state already owns. And, you know, if they're ready to give us some property, we can have that discussion because they own over 90%. I'm definitely ready to discuss that, you know, in any way, shape, and form. I'm not trying to cut it off, and I'm not trying to be it's been that aggravating, because it's been a historical problem, and we've tried to address it in many different ways. I'm fine with filling out whatever grant form we can fill out, but just know that that sounds good, but that don't mean it's gonna produce a result. You know, it doesn't. So I'm fine with that. I'm not being different, being detrimental to that. I think that's a great idea. But we just have to be ready for the reality. Just because we submit it don't mean we're gonna get it. If history shows itself to be anything, that's all I have. I'm not trying to put a wet blanket on it. I think this board has many times expressed concern, angst, anger, the 5 levels of grief. I mean, we've done it all, trying to get a boat ramp at Alligator Point.
So what I will do after this, today's meeting, I'll contact Mr. Lott either this afternoon or tomorrow and see what agenda him and maybe group, because I really like him to take the time and he did a very good job this morning, but I'd like him to point out the pictures and point out the specifics so we could tell him the issues we have, some of the neighbors' issues, and we come to agreement of a plan and we move forward as quickly as possible to get it done.
Yes.
Whatever we agree to.
Mr. Chairman, may I speak on
Yes,
this
ma'am.
subject?
Sure can.
For 18 years, the first time I was in here, for 18 years, we tried. We got building improvement grants all over the county. Went to try to do something for Alligator Point, could not do it because the water's not enough to maintain the water enough to launch a 21-foot boat. That was it. I've tried for 22 years to get a boat ramp, and every time I try, there's more people comes to me, wants it. I'm fixing to get upset about it. Because I tried. This board has tried. The last time I heard it, we said, oh, well, maybe we can sneak down there in the middle of the night and move that stuff out before anybody sees it. Well, guess what? We got a lawsuit, a pending lawsuit, not too far right down the road from where this S-curve is. So right now, we're in the middle of a pending lawsuit down in that area. DEP is probably gonna get involved in it. And who has to do the permitting, Mr. DEP? You see what I'm saying? So if y'all just hold your horses a little bit, and like I said at the last meeting, stop with your negative stuff on Facebook, stop with your negative stuff on Nextdoor about this commission or commissioners or employees or staff. Maybe we can get something done when we work together. But as long as we don't work together, it's not gonna happen. And I'm telling you what, there ain't nobody in Tallahassee that I have not contacted that was back then and now for a boat ramp. But they have not changed the criteria that I know of. The girl that Mr. Lott contacted, she called me. She said, well, I didn't know. Who are you? I said, I'm Commissioner Sanders. I'm the Commissioner of District 2 that includes Alligator Point. Well, I've been talking to the other commissioner from down there. Remember what I said? Yeah. Mr. Lott, the lady thought Mr. Lott was the commissioner with questions that she was asking.
I'm so sure he wants that job.
That's the thing about it. That's the thing about it. But you know what that is to me? A slap in my face. Slap in my face. So anyway, I'm gonna be willing to do anything I can do to get a boat ramp. We have always done that. Mark can give you the history. I can give you the history. Michael, you can give the history. Everybody can give the history. But nobody can get a boat ramp down there until we sit down and decide where it needs to be, because the S-curve boat ramp may be a workable solution, but right now it's not. And people just hold on and just quit, just like the Chip Morrison Road parking area. It's constant. It's constant. We've got people in this county that don't even have a home to live in. And people worried about boat ramps and parking access. Have you ever tried lifting your hand to help somebody in our county who don't have as much as what we do? I do. Do you? You know what I'm saying?
Yes,
That's
ma'am.
the question.
Yeah.
You keep on asking, keep on asking, keep on asking for the county to do something. But what are you doing to help the situation instead of just complaining? And that's what I have to say. We ride over dirt roads in this county. Somebody says, Cheryl, you need a new car. Your car looks so bad. I said, I'm proud to drive over a dirt road because that's what we've got. And I love Franklin County whatever way it is. But I am tired of people complaining about what they don't have. They need to look at what they do have in this county. And that's the way I look at it. And I think Mr. Noah and other commissioners were the same way. Let's help our fellow person in this county. Let's help people in this county. And don't worry about all the other stuff you can't take care of. It'll all come in time. But we are family here in Franklin County. We like to help people. Mr. Chairman, thank
Yes,
you
ma'am.
for your time.
Not a problem. It's just, it's gonna take the legislature doing something.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I know FWC's a grant, but they, you know, they're over that. They own property there. That's all I'm trying to say, that the state forestry owns property there. You know what I mean? Because it's not just, and you hit it some, it's not just where can we put a boat ramp? Where can we put a boat ramp that's conducive to being able to launch a boat and's got deep enough water? Because they're not gonna lay to prop dredge. You want to get in trouble, start prop dredging and get caught doing it. It is not a good thing. You know what I mean? All the different agencies, they're gonna be weighing in. There has to be enough depth of water to actually be usable. You know, it's all got to kind of line up. We can't just pick a spot on the map and say, hey, let's put it here. It's kind of like we were talking about earlier with this property and getting a wetlands delineation. That's going to tell us where we can put this gun range at. And there's going to have to be discussion to know where that boat ramp can go. I would love for it to go right where I want it to go, but that don't always happen.
Well, I'm gonna tell you like a wise old man told me, Mr. Chairman, one more statement.
Yep.
Wise old man told me back in about November 91. He said, Cheryl, it's gonna come a day and time in this county that if you don't own a piece of land on the water, you're not gonna be able to launch a boat in here.
Yep.
That's right. And he was right. That was my daddy. And that's what I'm saying. That's just the way it is. But anyway, I mean, we've tried everything we can. And it's like you said, Mr. Chairman, Senator Simon said last year, and I think some of the Alligator Point people were here. I'm gonna work on you all a boat ramp. Did he not say that?
He did.
So, I mean,
He did. And since you said you're not going tomorrow, Commissioner Sanders, you and Commissioner Croom, please remember to mention this to the legislative delegation when you're talking to them.
I got it on my list.
Yep.
And I'll add to that list, I'm sure.
Oh, I'm sure. All right. Is that it for that, or any more discussion from the board about the boat ramp at Alligator Point, or a boat ramp at Alligator Point?
and thank you for allowing me time to speak on it.
No problem. Mr. Morrell?
One more share screen if I could, Commissioners. And now there's an item I wanted to discuss, but I'm gonna wait until we discuss the parking on Chip Morrison Road about that, something that was on next door that bothered me to a degree, but now is not the time. I'll deal with that when the time comes. And we'll see where that the chips fall there where they may.
No pun intended.
No pun intended.
Well, he's getting that, but going back to, Win Martin, St. Joe,
Yeah,
you ain't gonna
they own the property, made a lot of
get
these.
St. Joe Company.
Right, it wasn't the government. Yeah.
All right, Commissioners, finally, the final draft of your county seal, county logo, however you want to refer to it, there it is. That is what will be used. Slowly but surely as we transition when it comes to, the vehicles, your stationery, I don't know where else do we put it, on the shirts you wear when you go to the conferences, everything, you will see that here within the
Signs.
next.
Signs.
Signs. Oh, it will be on the person that's chomping at the bits for this the most is Mr. John Solomon, so he can redo the Welcome to Franklin County signs. This will be included on that.
Absolutely.
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 Even
Them
on the
signs
ones,
gotta go.
even the ones that they steal, so yes,
Yes, I
Yes.
was noticing that.
yes. So I kind of just
I don't
wanted
know
to
why they wouldn't steal it, but.
let you guys see that. I'm gonna buy a shirt with a big seal on it and give it to Attorney Schuler. Let's see if he wears it.
Just got to pick on it.
All right, moving on to number 9, attached to my report, let's stop, well, leave it there, is a no objection letter from the FAA regarding the approved FBO lease with Centric Aviation. You guys do remember that letter we got in November, it was 6 or 7 pages, about a million things that's wrong. But then we got, all of a sudden, it was a turnaround, it was a no objection. FAA doesn't like to get involved with leases, blah, blah, blah. Case closed. I'm not sure if they're trying to send us tell us in a nice way, because it says this case is considered closed unless we hear from an airport stakeholder or the public. That makes me wonder. Somebody actually complained how we ended up and they gave them the wrong information. But anyway, it's, water under the bridge. We are where we are. It's closed. It's a done deal, and we're moving on. So I thought that was a good thing.
And Michael, we had also submitted the latest copy of the lease at that point.
Yes.
Yeah, so that was something that they could have actually been reviewing.
Yeah, once they reviewed.
One of the earlier drafts.
Well, that's what the board had discussed. They asked me to send them the one that was approved by the Board of County. Once I did, we got this letter back. Commissioner Amison and I had kind of a bet as to how long, 6 months to a year. We both lost because we got it within 3 months.
Ms. Griffin, you need to apologize what you said earlier about the federal government.
They moved fast, didn't they?
That's the fastest I've ever seen it. But
So
I'll
yeah,
take it.
that shocked me when I saw that email. Before I had a chance to open it, they sent it to both Erin and myself at the same time. She responded, "Oh my goodness," type of deal. So yes, so we're good there. A reminder, Ms. Mary Mayhew, President and CEO of Florida Hospital Association, she's going to be here at your next meeting to discuss options for the future of Weems Memorial Hospital. If you'd like to speak to her prior to that, let me know. I'll try my best to set up a phone conversation with any of you individually to speak with Ms. Mayhew. If not, you could, maybe you want to hear what she has to say, then decide you want to speak to her one-on-one. That's the board's choice. Legislative Day, we all know that's tomorrow. I will pause so that the chairman could kind of give Commissioner Ward and Commissioner Kroom a little heads up as to where to go and what the plan is, what discussions you've had with staff of both the representative and the senator, and we go from there.
Okay. So far, the only one I've heard back with a firm time has been Representative Schoaf's office. The fact stuff they have going on is from 8 to 10, and Representative Schoaf has you on the schedule for 10:30.
Ooh, that's gonna be cutting it
That's
close. That's good, but.
You're
Well,
gonna have to
it's
leave
That
it's
means
better
I'm
than
gonna
3
have to-
o'clock in the afternoon.
It
so.
is, but we're gonna have to book it from
Yes.
the Turnbull Center
Yes.
to.
Yeah.
It might give you a minute
We
to
ain't
leave a
walking.
little bit early.
We're not walking like the chairman and I did last year, because it'll be 20, probably quarter
Yeah,
of that
last
last.
time,
But,
remember, it's 3 o'clock and we.
But
just-
hopefully we'll hear from the senator's office today with a firm time.
Yeah, let me know whoever gets that, so I can know, we can know whoever's going, how to
Yeah.
be, when to be there.
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman, if I could ask,
Yes.
so we got the Alligator Point thing on there. What else? I know we have appropriations.
Yes.
Does anybody have anything that they want to say, or where Commissioner Kroom and I can be their voice? What is it important, the number one? I know we've got multiple things.
Well, I know that they're, I would at least mention their appropriations. We have somebody paid to talk to them about it
Right.
on a regular basis, so you don't have to hit it too hard, but at least mention that we're aware of it and we know. Ms. Griffith, do you have
I
something
was
to
gonna
say?
get, Erin's gonna send you a list of what we,
Okay.
from
Yep.
Tracy and.
Yep, I can send the copies.
Yes.
Yep.
And,
All right.
and definitely about the boat ramp, because that's a situation that needs resolving. And it's
Yeah.
gonna take
Yeah.
them to do it.
Yeah,
The other things are, on the fact agenda, they'll talk about some of that, but the one that I think pertinent for us as a small county is what we're trying to, through the association, trying to push this year to the legislatures to allow rural counties to be able to add a 1 cent, the ability to ask their voters for a 1 cent tax for infrastructure. The voters would have to approve it, but as of right now, we can't even try to do that because something that's written up the way the statute's written. So I have talked with Representative Schoaf about it numerous times, and he was like, yeah, I get it, that's fine. But in the past, that's been a hard no. So just mention that and make sure that they're aware of that. Because again, we're not asking to be able to do it, we're asking to be able to ask the voters to approve it. It's
And
not
that's-
something we would just be able to do
Yeah.
without voter approval.
And Mr. Chairman, that's a sales tax.
It is.
And one of the
Not
other
ad valorem.
things, Mr. Chairman, if you don't
Yes.
mind, is to make sure that Schoaf and Representative Schoaf and Senator Simon also knows to keep all the rural benefits
Yes.
intact,
Yeah,
like
scrap, yeah.
SCOP, that's Small County Outreach, and the County Incentive Grant Program also.
Yes. They need to
because-
fully fund
Yes.
those.
Yeah,
Yeah,
make sure
SIG
those are
yeah.
funded.
As
I
well
was
as
trying to
SHIP
think of
funds.
something else. There's
SHIP
something
funds and
else.
Visit Florida, they're always on the chopping block.
And a couple of things, two things. One, maybe, Mr. Lott had said earlier about they only having $1 million for road improvement.
Yeah.
Maybe increase that, because how it affects the rural counties, Commissioner.
Yes.
And I hate to keep harping on the boat ramps, and I'll get a point, but find out, is Leonard Landing something they intend to expand on or not? Then we know what direction to go in if that's what.
That's where
wanna
they
do.
need to expand.
Yeah,
Yes.
I mean, Mr. Lott had a good idea.
And let me just say one thing about this. When the Department of Agriculture came in here and did the original leases, it was not 40-something leases back then. It was only 20-something leases, 26 or something, like 24, 26. And see, so they doubled the amount of usage there at that boat ramp, knowing that that was an inadequate boat ramp to
Yes.
start with.
Yes.
So, I mean, that's something you gotta look at.
That's been my argument the whole time. I mean, the state's making money off these leases,
Yeah,
but they won't provide them a decent access or a safe access
that is, that's
to work the leases. That's the,
so frustrating.
Yeah.
It's, yeah.
No,
Really-
that's they say it's we need to do that.
Yeah.
That's been their
well, I
stand.
tell you what, we'll do it, y'all give us the money.
That's what I'm
You know,
saying.
Give
Yeah.
us the, we'll lease it to them.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mr.
You know,
Chairman,
that's another thing. I'm just curious about, and I know I've been on my soapbox with it, this might not be the time, but, you know, aren't y'all tired of the state buying everything up? Is there any way legally we can stop that?
We don't have
mean-
nothing else to sell.
But, hey,
They bought it
you
and
got
that left.
67, you got, private property going right on the Gulf County right there that the cattle company owns. And
Oh,
at some
that's
point,
right.
the states want to extend the FWC, a little, box R ranch thing.
well, Mr.
You know, I
Chairman,
mean, I just think it's ridiculous because it takes everything off our tax roll. We absorb all the costs, and here the state is owns everything. They want to give us a damn boat ramp. Excuse my language, but that's the truth.
well, Mr. Chairman, last year, if we remember
So sorry about it.
legislative day, or at Tallahassee, Mr. Wilton Simpson, the Commissioner of Agriculture, was a speaker, and he's gonna be there tomorrow again, said that one of his goals as commissioner was to start giving these rural counties back some of the state-owned land. So
Yeah,
where's
me
that
too.
coming
Exactly
from?
what he said.
So guess what? I might just ask him that tomorrow.
That's what I'm
Exactly
talking
what
about.
he said.
That's what I'm talking about.
Tell them we got some ideas on what property we want back too.
Yeah.
Yes.
But I'm just saying, I mean, it's frustrating. It's frustrating for everybody. I mean, at one time I understood where the mindset was with allowing the state to come in and do certain things, but good night. I mean, back then I didn't think that we knew that we was gonna be where we're at now as far as property values and everything. I mean, we pretty much sold ourselves right on out. And that's what's frustrating, because I think we're probably about the only county in the state that the government owns is big percentage of the property. And guess what? They do the least amount for us. From our bay right on to a damn boat ramp. Excuse me again, but it just gets frustrating. But that's the truth of it. And
That's true.
Yeah.
It's true.
It is, it's true.
Mr. Chairman, if anybody can give me any hints and ideas, I don't know if Commissioner Krim, I'm sure he's been at the Capitol, but how to work them out elevators and how to get from
It
point A
should
to
be
point.
straightforward on the side for the representative.
Oh, my goodness.
That shouldn't be bad.
Oh,
Just go to
it's-
the second set.
I know. I've learned after 3 years, but golly, whoever engineered those elevators and the way to get around the Capitol, whew, they must have been like, I'm gonna see what they can, see how I can mess them up today and get them lost.
Kind of like Atlanta's airport, pretty much, trying to get around there.
I'd rather do Atlanta's airport than the Capitol.
Okay.
I can guarantee you I'll be there next year, but not tomorrow.
Okay, Commissioners, I will defer item 13 about the workshop to Attorney Schuler when his, as he does his report, he has an item for you guys. And your next meeting date is Tuesday, February 6th. And before we move to Attorney Schuler, Mrs. Griffith has a late item that she just got information on, she was waiting on. She'd like board to approve it so we can proceed with that project.
Yeah, do they need to call for public comment, Michael, before taking
Yes,
action?
this time
Okay.
we will, yes.
Okay, okay. Yeah, I actually just emailed all of you. Yeah, we have just received the final quantity reconciliation change order from the CEI engineers AECom for the Alligator Drive multi-use path Phase 3 and 4 project. This final change order is an additional reduction to the contract price of $20,738.10. Also attached was the final pay request for this project to contractor Robertson Roberts in the amount of $49,179.36. So I do have two proposed action items for you all. Board action to approve the final change order number 2, which is a reduction of the $20,738.10 for the Alligator Drive multi-use path project, and action item B, board action to process the final pay applications to Robertson Roberts in the amount of $49,179.36 in the form of a manual check.
Okay, so this, first off, can we do this in one motion?
Yes.
Okay, so it's reducing the amount, and then it's being
Approving
able to
the-
pay that
yeah,
amount.
correct.
Okay, and it's reducing by $20,000?
Yep, it is a secondary reduction because they already had one change order that also reduced the price, so.
That's
Yeah.
great.
Yeah.
on sale right now.
Yeah, the only reason I was asking, we usually don't ever get a
No.
reduction in price.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
yeah.
We're excited when we get those.
So before we take action, is anybody in the public wants to comment about this, or make a public comment? I will open the floor at this time for public comment. Sir, is anybody attending by Zoom?
Anyone attending by Zoom that would like to comment, please do so by using the raise hand feature. No, sir, no hands raised.
All right, pleasure of the board.
Make a motion to approve.
All right.
Second.
Motion to approve by Commissioner Sanders, second by Commissioner Amison. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Any opposed? That's unanimous.
And Commissioner, that was it for my report, by the way, I'm sorry.
All right, next meeting's on February 6th.
Yes.
All right. Attorney Schuler, we're up to you, sir.
All right, sir. My written report first. I have one action item, and this is for the board to consider adopting a resolution, scheduling a date, time, and place for a public hearing to consider the petition of Mr. Patrick Sparks for you to consider abandoning all the 30-foot wide alley, also known as Gun Street in Block 3 East, St. George Island, Gulf Beaches, Unit Number 1, which is a plat recorded in Franklin County, Florida. I have attached to my report, and now will spread upon the minutes, the email correspondence from Mr. Patrick Sparks to Mr. Mark Curington, which is the written petition for the board to consider that abandonment. I have also attached to my report some maps that show you the location of Block 3 East in Unit 1 that I've just described. There's also a resolution of intent that I'm asking you to consider approving this morning to consider abandoning a public road and alley and scheduling a public hearing. It says, whereas Franklin County, a political subdivision in the state of Florida, is heretofore required by dedication the public road/alley described herein below. And whereas Franklin County, based on the written petition of Patrick Sparks, has determined that the interest of the county and the public in said road should be considered for abandonment as provided by law. And whereas following abandonment, ownership of the road/alley will transfer as provided by Florida statute section 336.12. Now therefore be it resolved that on February the 20th, 2024, at 5 p.m. Eastern Time. A public hearing will be held at 34 Forbes Street, Apalachicola, Florida, to consider the advisability of exercising the authority granted by Florida Statute Section 336.09, subsection 2, to abandon the following public road / alley as provided by law. The legal description states all of the 30-foot wide alley / Gun Street in Block 3 East, St. George Island, Gulf Beaches, Unit 1, as reported in Plat Book 2, page 7, Franklin County, Florida. A map of the public road / alley to be considered for abandonment is shown below. Adopted in open session this the 16th day of January 2024. And then also attached to my report is the notice of intent to abandon the public roadway, which is the advertisement that would be published in the Apalachicola Times. And so what I'm asking the board today is for discussion and possible adoption of this resolution that I just read into the minutes.
Okay, so this would be just setting this public hearing for the 20th
Yes.
of February at 5 p.m.
Yes, sir, in this building, 34 4th Street, Apalachicola.
All right. Any questions, Commissioners?
And Mr. Chairman, just to clarify, it will be at 5 p.m.
5 p.m. That's my understanding that the board's instructions were set for a 5 p.m. public hearing.
So moved to approve.
Okay. We have a motion to approve by Commissioner Ward, second by Commissioner Amison. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? We have set a public hearing.
All right, so now the addition to my report, the chairman mentioned this morning, was regarding the public workshop that's scheduled for tonight at 5 p.m. for the landings. Earlier in the meeting, Mr. Carrington handed a email request from Scott Davis. It was sent to Mark Carrington, dated this morning at 9:19, requesting that the workshop scheduled for this evening to be postponed due to the recent passing of Dan. Time is required to review all of Dan's work and prepare accordingly. We anticipate requesting a rescheduled meeting for sometime tentatively in February. My apologies for this inconvenience and thank you very much. So the board would need to take action on their request to cancel tonight's public workshop. It would have to be rescheduled and re-advertised at some date in the future.
Right.
But this request does come from the developer's representative.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
we need a motion to
Yes.
cancel. I'll make
Yes,
a
ma'am.
motion to cancel, but we can't make a motion to
No.
reschedule until we hear back from them. Okay.
That's my understanding, yes. I don't, yeah, they are, as they said, they're trying to review all of Dan's work and prepare. I read that to mean they just want to put their best foot forward.
Okay, I'll make that motion to cancel tonight's public
We have a
hearing.
motion to approve canceling tonight's public workshop by Commissioner Ward, a second by Commissioner Sanders. Any discussion, Commissioners? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? That is unanimous. All right, anything else for Attorney Schuler? Now's your time, no question.
No, I got one.
Okay, go ahead. See, I was right on,
I
wasn't
got
I?
something.
Uh-oh.
That was just serendipitous. Go ahead.
At the last meeting, I asked you, Mr. Schuler, what is required of the county toward Alliant about their contract? How many days' notice did we have to give them if we chose to not continue a contract with them? Did you ever get that answer from me?
90 days, isn't it?
I'm pretty sure I
90 days,
emailed
I thought.
everything. I'm sorry?
I thought you said one time before it was 90 days.
I think it is 90 days. When I left the last meeting, I went back and sent an email to the board that contained that information, which was a
Yeah.
copy of their agreement. My recollection is I think it's 90 days, but again, I would need to
Yeah.
look and see. It's a short period, and it can be terminated by either party for convenience and without cause.
Okay. I just, when I bring it up in public, I like to bring it back up in public and get the answer in public, then people know. But I was just making sure.
I would have to go back and review it, but I think that's 90 days is correct.
Anything else for Attorney Schuler? All right, we're to Commissioners' comments then, since we're not having a convening meeting later for the workshop. Any
Mr.
Commissioner comments?
Mr. Chairman, I have one. I don't, if people remember at the last meeting, we had discussed the deer carcass bins with Mr. Davis, because he had taken them all up. I did reach out to Mr. John Creamer, the Regional Director of the FWC, and he was gonna speak to his bear management crew in terms of what they can do to help us. I did forward him Mr. Davis's, information, and I did let Mr. Davis know that he might be, reaching out, and contacting him. I asked Mr. John Creamer last week, when he was here, meet with, Commissioner, Croom, and he is to get with Mr. Davis and they are to discuss, possibly come up with hopefully a plan for future with these deer carcass bins to be able to help us out in that situation. So I just wanted the public to be aware that I did follow up with that, and that's kind of where we are on that.
Okay. Anyone else? I have a couple of things, but didn't want to trump anybody else. All right, so I did meet with Mr. Creamer the other day when he was in town. He come by the CarQuest where I was working so we could discuss, because we've had the ongoing discussion with FWC about the restoration efforts and about some heartburn, if you will, with some of the mention of not the type of material they want to use, but the size of the material. And what they showed me that they brought to me, I'm good with, and I think everybody else would be. It was 3 to 4 inches big, the Kentucky blue limestone that was put there the last time that actually had produced moistures. They're a lot smaller than what they had mentioned us at the last meeting, being up to a foot long. There was nothing, I think he said the range they said was from 2 inches to 6 inches. And everything they brought me looked like about the length of a regular oyster, about 3 inches long, 3.5 inches long. So I just want everybody to know that we're still having those conversations, even though they might not be at commission meetings all the time. We're still having conversations with them about the restoration efforts. The other thing I wanted to mention, it's not our habit, and I don't mention it for that, as a board to try to take credit or to, put us forward in any way. But there's some recent Facebook posts, which were great, from the East Point Civic Association. They've been able to do some things, but most everything they've done, commissioners, and you might have seen that post, most everything that they've been able to do was because this commission took action and supported them. Streetlights, we're paying for them. We had to do that. The beautification project that's underway that still needs to be completed, we supported that. We by an act of this board, we submitted to that from DOT. Some of the other things that have been able to done, and I wanted to take this time to express, because it wasn't said publicly, they were talking about themselves, and that's fine. It's not downplaying that in any way, but I'm thankful as the representative from East Point that this board supported all of that, because without the support of this board, half of that stuff would not have happened. So I just wanted to make sure you were aware, because it wasn't expressed that way, but I just wanted to give a thanks to the commissioners for supporting the things that the Civic Association has put forward and tried to do.
Cool.
Anyone else?
Me.
Yes.
I've got a couple of things.
Go ahead, Lee.
Aren't they repaving, and I know they are, but I'm asking.
Between Carabel and East Point? Between Carabel and East Point?
Well, they're going to repave that, aren't they?
Yes, ma'am.
Eventually.
Mhm.
But out there around Alligator Point, I was thinking if they were, we've had discussions before, if they were repaving 98, why couldn't we try to talk to them about extending some of that pavement?
Yes.
Maybe making some parking spots out there
Yes.
around Leonard's Landing.
Yes.
Why couldn't we do that?
Yeah, we could. I'm smiling and looking out here. Mr. Lott and I had that same discussion.
Let's do
Yeah.
that.
Yes.
The other thing is, I don't know if everybody realizes the amount of rainfall that we've had in just a short time, but we had a almost near emergency last week with that rain that came in with Walnut Creek.
Yes.
I've had calls from forestry. They're upset with the county having to hold back the water on Walnut Creek because of the sheet metal wall back out there where they're trying to do the culvert the head walls and all like that, that it's drowning their trees back in there. And a lot of water, and it is, it has changed the whole ecosystem out there, because I know in that area, the water flows to the east and then south. Well, the water is not doing that. It's backing up and going places that has never went before. So, you know, I just want y'all aware, wasn't his name Jamie Miller? The man from
Yes, North Florida, yep.
Construction.
Yep.
He did put a bigger pump out there, so when the rain did come the other day, he was able to pretty much stay up with
Okay.
it. But we didn't get the rainfall that we were predicting to get, so that was a blessing right there. But we need to make sure that we emphasize on that construction crew, whoever it is, the subcontractor, contractor, they need to hurry up as soon as they can and get that out, because of one definite thing I've been noticing with all that water that's been over county line is when the water goes across, it cuts down. Water goes across, cuts down, and it's cutting at the base of the asphalt on 67. I know we're gonna pave that one day in the future, not too long from now, but we need to get that job hurried up as fast as we can to keep that undermining, because that water has an overflow and it's coming over the road because it can't go down the creek, and that's the main tributary to the Ochlockonee River. So I just want to keep y'all aware of it so y'all will know. So if Miss Cheryl says, oh, we got an emergency, know that I'm talking the truth, because at Walnut Creek, that is a main tributary that filtered out all that water from the west to the east and south, and it's not doing like it's trying to go other places that it don't need to be going, causing problems. So anyway, I was just going to make the board aware of that, so you all will know. And the one thing is, we got cold weather coming, and hopefully everybody will be all right. But the people need to understand you need to stay warm. And I know, we don't have anybody taking anything and opening it or nothing for anybody that may have problems.
I know Jennifer informed me that the sheriff is working with the Baptist
Church in East
over
Point.
in East Point, yes.
Yeah, and I just make that public to where people who don't have a place to stay can go up there and stay. And take care of your pets, plants, and pipes.
Yep. All right, any other commissioner comments? All right, meeting adjourned.